Hello and welcome to Dharma with Kai. I'm your host, Kylie, and this podcast over criminology and narcissistic relationships is verified. And the stories that I share with you during this cast are not sharing any identifiable information or any confidential information. Welcome back to the series of criminology, narcissistic relationships, and healing. As a person who has been in the field of criminology and other neurosciences, trauma, and restoration, I'm going to back into why that does not work and why there has been no resolution and there is never going to be. And that is why it's important, as I said in a previous podcast, to sacrificially and intentionally do this work alone. I'm going to share with you some of my experience throughout the podcast series. However, I do not recommend trying any of these tactics at home or on your own. As a practitioner, it is important that I did have an opportunity to do some work outside of work on my own, leading me to create Dharma with Kai. On today's episode, we're going to discuss empathy. And while I know this is a strength of many people that are in narcissistic relationships, I'm going to commend you on having such a wonderful trait. However, you're going to want to kind of navigate away from your empathy while getting out of these relationships. Having empathy is the absolute worst for a person that is going through the narcissistic cycles and relationships dynamics that can end up nuclear if you are embedded within these relationships. Healing and obtaining identity back from this is about the work that is done in silence. That is why I also don't recommend support groups. Never work on blasting a narcissist or calling them out. And always remember, you're only as good as the people that you spend most of your time or you surround yourself around. No need for a crowded experience when you have been unable to breathe or fluidly go through life with normalcy, and the digital age makes it even more difficult. Even though I'm seasoned and growing through life with narcissists in my passing and ecosystem, I am graced with an old soul and the wisdom that told me never again. Practice refining the words that you use to name your feelings, and also observe the words that you use to explain your views towards others. I do recommend journaling for a week. However, I don't recommend having a lengthy journaling process to capture how you're feeling. Legally, you don't want to spend a lifetime movie network to still have to console yourself to get out of bed each day and face the world or the people who look to you. Neglect is okay during this time because the superior narcissist did that just to you. Find other things to invest in outside of them. Develop a routine that helps you decompress each day, unwinding from encounters that occur to heal from others, and find time to allow you to unwind from the emotions or the people that have so many recommendations for you and they don't really fit or have to live in your life. Sometimes it's just better to go through this in silence. I had the data, and narcissistic relationships are so loud, and that is why so many of them end in fatalities. I don't want you to use their emotional states or your fear to excuse their behavior. You have become so immune to having these toxic people in your life that is going to require you to make some changes yourself instead of piling on additional baggage that you won't even want to process after it's all said and done. Pay attention to your energy levels. Forget all of the devices and watches and to-dos or fads. Once you master how to intentionally listen to your body again and your mind is releasing clutter from these narcissistic relationships, you're going to start having better processing to tend to making better decisions. Your ability to identify and reduce risk is a powerful advantage, and the adverse reaction of others and their emotions is what is going to get challenging due to your empathy and having empathy as a strength. Pay no attention to those who need an emotional reaction from you. There's supply out there, and it is going to exhaust you because it isn't yours. However, you don't want to reduce your quality of life because of their irrational behavior or control. Use this time to gather information and options assess different situations, and evaluate everything, people, places, and things around you, because you're going to want to enhance your life. When you have the opportunity to do all of these things for yourself without anyone, you're going to start to feel weight lift off of your shoulders, and you are going to start to feel freedom again. The generational pause that I've had to place on my life to heal appropriately and view life for what it is was necessary, not the ideas of mama, brother, daddy, grand, blah, 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 because it is important to be able to digest and reflect on these relationships without the opinions of others. And if they're feeding you their ideas of what life should get lived out as, you're never going to break past those generational barriers. In my practice, I go over with clients that these relationships are nothing to work through if you're in limbo, because they have a ripple wave effect and impact on those who are also involved in your life. So with the narcissist, usually they'll try to go to these different environments to kind of make you feel less like yourself and impose their views on all of these other dynamics of living. And that is destructive. I do give a shout out to you for being brave and being here. However, you don't want others to take the credit for not standing against them and the harm that dealing with the narcissistic person imposes. You know, a lot of people that say they support you, they'll hide behind their screens and say, I'm here for you. However, that's a lot different. So kudos to you for being here. Keep doing your work, because you don't want them to take the credit, because they weren't so strong for being able to go against the grain and healing from these narcissistic relationships. In criminology, narcissistic relationships and healing, there is no place for empathy. So if you're ready to thrive and live with a voice, you have to get tough. And that doesn't mean vocally, it means in a way that you've never had to before. And you have to dig deep. Don't play with your life. You have allowed enough derogatory and abusive ways to halt your experience. Throughout my podcast, you're going to listen to episodes that make you reflect, and at times your emotional perspective is going to shift. And that's the process of healing. So keep the faith, trust in the process, and do not defend yourself against your decisions. Don't go backwards. I want to thank you for listening to Dharma. However, this series is not to attract likes, it's to get real. Criminology, Narcissistic Relationships, and Healing on Dharma with Kai is going to officially air in 2025, and it's going to serve as a life-changing experience of acquiring essential knowledge and allow some necessary connections to get made before entering into a dynamic of logistically impossible lifestyle habitual patterns that continue to recur in your life. Until next time, protect your peace. Adios.